gone live. So good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining today's episode. So today we'll be talking about the power of foresight. Okay, let me just go straight. Thank you. Can you people see my slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you. So today let's just go straight into the topic is preparation and foresight, or more importantly, the power of foresight. That's what we're talking about this evening. Father, we thank you for grace, insight, inspiration in Jesus' name. Amen. So Proverbs 30, 24, 25. 4 things that are little on the earth, but they are exceedingly wise. The ants are a people not strong yet. They prepare their food. So we've looked at what preparation is. We saw that preparation is about getting something ready for the future. So we said it's living ready. And last week we looked at one test of preparation. We call it the time and chance test. That when the opportunity comes, if you cannot maximize that opportunity, then you are not ready. We gave the parable of the 10 virgins. We gave the example of Joseph before Pharaoh. And we also gave the example of David and Goliath. That's a time and chance test. Are you ready when that opportunity comes? That if you are not ready for the opportunity, then you are not really truly prepared. So we now looked at what preparation requires. We said it requires 2 things: foresight and daily discipline. And today I just said, let's look at the foresight part. So this was where we ended last week, Proverbs 22, verse 3, that a wise man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple person and are punished. And we said that people's experiences are a function of their ability to see into the future and to do something in the present about it. A wise man foresees, a prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, or can say foresees opportunity and maximizes it. He said, but the simple, they cannot see what is going to happen in the future, and that's why they are punished. So we said the example of Joseph. So why was Egypt the only country with food during the time of famine? Why the other nations struggle? Because Joseph foresaw, he saw into the future and now said, this is the thing we're going to do in the present. And this is what will take us into today's presentation. I want to talk about foresight here because that's the starting point of wisdom. A prudent man foresees. So the starting point of wisdom is foresight. So the dictionary defines foresight as the ability to predict what will happen or what will be needed in the future. So that ability to 5 years, 2 years, 1 year from today, what would happen? And the question somebody will ask here, how do we know what exactly will happen in the future? Well, follow me. There are 1 or 2 strategies or ideas I'll put on the table that if all of us, including myself, apply, can make the future better than what it is today. So the first thing here is I'd like to talk about 3 occasions in the Bible when Jesus wept. 3 occasions in the Bible when Jesus wept. I think that everybody here knows the first occasion. Which would that be? Anybody help me? The first that you are aware of. Everybody should be aware of point number 1. Anybody wants to help me? The first instance in the Bible, the most common. Can you people still hear me?
At Lazarus' tomb, when Lazarus died.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. At the tomb of Lazarus. That's the first one. The second, anybody?
I think it's on the cross also.
Okay.
The cry on the cross.
Okay, the second was in the Garden of Gethsemane and that process of the cross and all that. Hebrews tells us with strong crying and tears, you understand? We prayed to him that is able to save him from death. So that's the second instance where Jesus wept. But there's a third instance, and that third instance for me connects to preparation, connects to foresight. And the three lessons I want to share about foresight is in that account. And that third time is in Luke 19, verses 41 through 44. And in Luke 19, it says, as he drew near, he saw the city and he started to weep. He wept over it. He saw the city and he wept over it. And I want you to imagine in your mind what is happening in an average city. There's buying and selling. There are people giving out in marriage and the rest. There are people giving birth to babies and all that. A lot of activities were happening in that particular city, but Jesus started weeping over the city. Why did he weep? He didn't weep because of today. He wept because of the future of that city. He didn't weep because of the present. Everything happening in the present was wonderful, fantastic, amazing. For a lot of people, it was a normal day. But just like the Proverbs 22:3, Jesus saw evil coming for that city and he started to weep, and the people could not see it. And he says to them in verse 42, if you had known, if only you had known, especially in this your day, the things that make for your peace. So there are certain things that you need to do today to secure your future. But it says, hey, you are not aware of it. He said, but now they are hidden from your eyes. And that says in verse 43, for days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment around you, surround you and close you in on every side, and level you and your children with you to the ground. So you're planning for your children and all that. It says days will come. The difference here is that Jesus saw into the future, knew what the people were supposed to do in the present, but the people did not see into the future and did not know what they were supposed to do in the present. I said, this, I can tell you what will happen. The days will come. It will surely happen. And this is for a lot of us here. A lot of people are in this particular situation, financial, particular situation, emotional, particular situation in terms of their health, their business and all that. Is that ability, not to see into the future, if I put it that way. You can't see, project into the future to know the things that will surely happen and what you need to do in the present, either to secure it or to abort it. So if it is positive, secure. If it is negative, abort it. And so let me just show you three things I want to talk about here. The three principles, three pillars of foresight. Pillar number one is simple. That pillar number one is the concept of long-term thinking, or the ability to see into the future. The human being, by nature, you understand, lacks, let me not say lacks that ability, has the capacity to project into the future, but a lot of people live in the present. Why did Esau sell his birthright for a morsel of meal? That's the ability to live in the present. Why would Judas sacrifice Jesus or betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver? The average tendency of the human being is to overestimate the present at the expense of the future. So that's what you call instant gratification. I want it now, how it is good for me. I don't want to think about the future. The future is far. But what a lot of us fail to realize is that we'll spend most of our lives in the future. You will get to 40, you get to 50, you get to 60, and you will spend a lot of time in that future. So why not start and think about the future? The study was done in America. It was a 50-year study by one man called Dr. Edward Banfield. And he looked at why some people succeed in America and others fail, especially those that did not have endowments at the beginning. So their father was not rich, they were not given any inheritance and the rest, but they were able to pull themselves out of the lower to middle to upper class. And they found out that the single most important determinant of long-term success is what they call long-term view. So they take a long-term view of their lives, of their future. And that's the starting point. Foresight is sitting down like a pendulum here, is projecting into the future and coming back into the present. It's projecting into the future and coming back into the present. For the ant, yeah, it was within a 1-year future. They prepare their food in the summer because they know that winter is coming. For some of us, that projection might be 2 years. That projection might be 5 years, or a maximum of 10 years. That projection might be 10 years. And you're just wondering, 10 years from today, my daughter will be X amount, X age old. Somebody 15 years from today. And so what would happen when my daughter gets it? And the problem with a lot of us here is that we just say by faith, don't worry, God will take care of everything. There's no need for you to plan. But you forget that even God planned our salvation from the very beginning. The Bible called Jesus the Lamb of God, slain from the foundation of the world. So God projected, he saw that even before the creation of man, that man will fall, and God made provision for the salvation of man. Nothing takes God by surprise. Otherwise, it's called the beginning and the end. It's the God that has gone to the end, the future. He has seen the future. He has made provisions for the future. So he knows how the future would end. So nothing takes God by surprise, because God has gone ahead and God has made adequate provision in the present. But a lot of us in the concept of faith, we just say, don't worry, there's no need for you to plan for it. It's unbelief. That when you get there, don't worry, God will take control when we get there. And by using those kind of spiritual languages, we actually break certain principles that are divine. And preparation is actually a divine principle. Jesus wept over the city. He says, if only you have known today the things that make for your peace, but because you don't know that. And he says, and that's the painful part. Jesus said, he said, they will surely bring you down. Simply because there's really nothing I can do in that particular instance when it happened. You have the opportunity to do something in the present, but you did not do it. And you now get into that danger. And you know what we start doing? We start praying. We start going through vigils. We start running from one prayer mountain to the other. We start looking for one minister. It's happening here. We start jumping from one. And that's what I see happening in the body of Christ. Nobody wants to sit down and learn and say, hey, these are the principles that would help you deal with certain issues. There's some issues that beyond your control, there's nothing you can do about it. You understand? But there's certain issues you can do something about. But at that time, when the consequences happen, we start looking for where to jump to, who who will lay hands on our head, and we blame God. He said, but I prayed it didn't happen. And Jesus said to them, if only you had known. By the time the armies gather around you, the time and chance test, you will fail that test. It's too late for you to prepare. So the first thing here for us is that ability to project into the future. And so I wrote here that you're going to spend a lot of time in the future, and so it's better for you to start thinking about it, thinking about the future for yourself, about the future for your kids, thinking and planning for it. It's an instrument of success, that ability to project and think about what the future holds and ask yourself, so what do I need to do differently? In this book, Competing by the Future by C.K. Prahalad and Gary Hamel, he says that there are three groups of people that will get to the future. He called them the drivers, they call them the drivers, the passengers, and roadkill. We all know roadkill. Roadkill is when you're traveling Lagos Ibadan or Lagos to Benin, or when you get to the road, you see some animals that have been killed. So they tried crossing the road and they did not see the oncoming cars, and those cars hit them and they died. That's roadkill. What it simply says is that certain people, the future will take them away because they didn't see the changes that were coming, and they thought it was business as usual. And today we've seen a lot of businesses that in fact have experienced roadkill. The Nokias of this world, the Blackberries of this world, the Blockbusters of this world. They didn't see the speed of change coming, and they thought it's business as usual. As they tried to cross the road, they were taken out. That's roadkill. So there is a category of people that the future will be very, very punitive, very difficult, very hard for such people. There's a second category that they call passengers. Is that passengers will get to the future, but their destiny are not in their hands. So they are passive. They are sitting down and somebody else is driving them into the future. That the people who will benefit more from the future are the people they call drivers. And who are drivers? It says that they are the companies. They actually call them those that will drive revolutions. So they are the companies that have a clear, premeditated view of where they want to take their industry. And they are not capable of orchestrating resources inside and outside to get there first. Those are drivers. So they are the ones causing the change. They are the, in inverted comma, the policymakers, in inverted comma, the innovators, the pace setters, the trend setters, the pathfinders. They are the ones that take the road that is less traveled by, and it makes all the difference in their life. They are the drivers. And so we need to ask ourselves here, which category would you be in terms of the future? Would you be a driver, the person in charge of your destiny? You know what I mean? I know somebody will say God is in charge of our destiny, the person in charge of your financial future, or would you be a passenger, or would you be a roadkill? I pray that there's nobody here that is a roadkill. I'm not praying for somebody's death, but you know what I mean, where the future is hard, the future is difficult, the future, you're barely surviving. So this for me is a challenge. And for me here, my determination, my goal, my prayer is that everybody listening to me here will be a driver. And for you to be a driver, you need to have a clear, premeditated. So like the pendulum, you've gone to the future. You've seen the future, like what Martin Luther King says. He said, I've seen the future. You understand that God has shown me the future. You've gone to the future. You've come back into the present. You now know, okay, so what do I need to do in order to secure that future? So I say here that there are two major sources in terms of seeing the future, but every source boils down to one particular thing. It's the same answer ultimately, but two major pathways or sources. And the same answer is inspiration. Everything about the future comes by inspiration. And in the source, it can either be divine or it can come from human inspiration. What do I mean? Divine is God showing you a dream. Divine is God revealing, like to Joseph, you understand what will happen in the future. Divine is God revealing to Daniel, you understand, the coming kingdom and the 70 weeks of Daniel. That's divine. Divine is Jesus saying. So divine comes by the Spirit of God revealing things to you that you would not normally know through human study and the rest. That's divine. So this is God speaking to you and saying, famine is coming 7 years from today. That's divine. But there's another source of inspiration, because the second source of inspiration is also divine, but it comes from you asking questions. So as you ask questions, you are provided with an answer. As you ask questions, you are provided with an answer. And I believe that even that answer has an element of the divine nature to it. But every man can experience that one in the business landscape. So there are some questions that can guide you. Now, there's a book that talks about the future that is happening. For example, if you look at the future that is happening right now, we know that artificial intelligence will play a major role in the future. We know that the next industrial, they call it the fourth industrial revolution, will be driven by technology, digitalization, automation, artificial intelligence. That's where the world is going. Robotics. We know that already. We don't know the full extent of the impact, but we know that the world will be shaped by that. So we know that it's already happening. It cannot be reversed, because everybody is moving in that direction. So it's asking yourself, based on the things that I see now, how will the future be fundamentally different? And one thing we know about the future is that it will be different from the present and the past. How will the future? So there are certain trends that we see right now, and I call trends an acronym that stands for technology, regulation, economic and environmental, new competition, demographics, and social-cultural, the 6 factors. Every time the future is shaped, it's shaped by one of these 6 factors. So what trends, technology, what trends, regulation, what trends, economic trends, what trends, you understand, in terms of new competition, novel solutions, and you understand demographics, population, and social-cultural, our taste, our values, and the rest. How would this shape and change the way we do business? Or asking yourself next question, what is the next big thing? Or where would new money show up? I like this one, new money. They say, I did marketing many years ago when went to a marketing course. This was 2004. And the guy said to me that the secret of marketing is to follow growing companies, pursue growing companies in growing sectors. Those are the I will never forget. I can't remember everything he said, but I will never forget that statement. The secret of marketing is to pursue growing companies in growing sectors. So you need to ask yourself, so where would new money, who will be the next big thing? And how do I position myself in order for me to be ready. I remember I quoted Bill Gates last week that the secret of success is to know where the world is headed and to be the first to get there. This is the starting point. I'm told this story, I don't know how true, but this is a story I read so many years ago, how pure water came into the Nigerian business landscape. That it was when the Pope came to, it was here on nature, 1982, 84. I can't remember the exact day. The Pope, the first time the Pope came to Nigeria, and the man sat down and asked himself, if the Pope will come to Nigeria, people will gather in the hot sun. They will need water to drink. And that was how the guy packaged water in a nylon, and that was the birth of pure water. The man saw opportunity where others could not see and made a kill, if I want to call that way. And some people just gathered to, yes, listen to the Pope, which is not a crime, but the man also gathered to listen. And in the process of gathering to listen, and the man saw an opportunity and made money. So this is question. And just by asking yourself this question, the problem with a lot of people is that it takes time, it takes discipline, it takes dedication. I could show you different models, scenario planning, DEPI model, and all that. You understand weak signals and weak. I could go into that, but for me, I don't want to. This is not a scientific business seminar, but this is the second part. So the first part is divine inspiration in the place of prayer. And this is where, for us as believers, we have an advantage. What advantage do we have? The physical man, this is the only access he has to inspiration, the physical. Asking questions, doing scenario planning, which you also have access to, but he doesn't have access to the supernatural source. So you are in a better position because the supernatural, God speaking to your heart and telling you that something like this is going to happen, and you prepare yourself ahead of time. I once heard, I think it was the Prince many years ago, that he just said to his people, he had this inspiration in his heart. He came to church, said to his people, and told them to sell off some of their assets in the stock market. That he just had this body that they should sell it, and these people sold it, and not quite 1-2 months down the line, the global market crashed. Now, how did they get that inspiration? Was the time. So we are in a position to understand the future better, because beyond the physical that we can ask questions, we also have the spirit of truth that the Bible says that will lead us into all truth and show us the things to come. Some of those things to come are not just spiritual in the context of when Jesus is coming and all that. Some of those things to come are the things that bother us around the physical space that would affect our lives. This is point number one. I don't know, am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are. Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Very well, very well, very well.
Okay, so thank you. So that's point number one, foresight, and is the starting point of wisdom. That ability to live the present and enter and go into the future. So you can pray, Holy Spirit, show me the things to come. That's one way. You can also ask questions, God, where will this happen? Maybe one day I will talk a bit about strategy, even from a biblical standpoint. David had to find stones to kill Goliath. There's a place of strategy. I will talk about that. But you can also ask certain questions here. Trends, don't forget trends, technology, regulatory, economic, new competition, novel solutions, demographics, and social culture. Let me go for time's sake. Point number two is opportunities and challenges. So it's one thing to know, okay, so what is likely going to happen? That's foresight. So once I understand long-term view, seeing the future, I need to know, what do I need to do, right? Is it this particular change, is there an opportunity or a challenge? Is there an opportunity or a challenge? Well, an opportunity is something that will make you make money, become better. A challenge is something that if you don't do can affect you. So you can call it opportunity versus threat when you do the SWOT analysis. Is there an opportunity or a threat to your existence? So when Jesus stood by the city and wept, it was not an opportunity, it was a threat. Something dangerous is coming into your future that if you don't do something about, then it can destroy your future, your children and your generation. And it's important for us to learn this. From that parable, is it parable or account in Luke 19? It says they will level you down and your children. There are certain decisions that if you don't make now will affect your kids. Deuteronomy 30, 19 and 20. He said, I said before you life and death, blessing and cursing, you understand? And I said, I call heaven to record this day against you that I've said before you life and death, blessing and cursing. And I said, but choose life that you and your children may live. So it means if you don't choose life, you and your children would, in quote, die or suffer the consequences. There are certain things that you do not for yourself, but you are doing it for your kids. There are certain sacrifices that you need to make to guarantee that your children have a better future that you did not have, a better platform. And so question number one is, I look out into the future, I ask myself, is this an opportunity and a threat or a challenge for me? And based on that, it brings me because I don't want to spend time on question number two. Question number three is where it's important. It says, what do I need to do now to either maximize the future or abort the threat? What do I need to do now? That's the question. And Jesus said, if you have known this day, the things that make for your peace. So there are certain things you need to do to guarantee that you have peace in your future. This day, that was what Jesus said, not tomorrow. So yes, it's the future, but you need to, if you have known for today, the things that makes for your peace. So there are certain things that you need to do today to secure, and that's the responsibility in the present. What do I need to do today? So it means that we should actually live today in readiness of the things that needs to happen in the future. And I said it here the first time. I don't know if I said it, but let me repeat it. I said, where there's no vision, the people cast off restraint. You know, we say where there's no vision, the people perish. But the concept of where there's no vision is that the people cast off restraint. So vision is a restraining force. It's not just a picture of the future that you see. It's a picture of the future that you see that places a yoke upon your neck to live today differently. That's what vision is. So if you see into the future and you don't do something different in the present, I think that what you have is, for me, is an hallucination or an illusion. Write the vision, make it plain, that he may run that with it. So how do I know that you have a vision? Because you are running with it. If you are not running with it, then you don't have a vision. You have, for me, an illusion, hallucination, delusion, whatever you want to call it, but not a vision. Because vision places responsibility on us. And this was what the ants knew. The ants knew that winter is coming. And in winter is not an opportunity for me. Winter is a threat. Winter is a threat. And so what do I need to do today to ensure that when winter comes, I will have enough supplies? And the ant gathers have food in the summer. Joseph knew that there will be 7 years of famine. That is not an opportunity, it's a threat. So what do we need to do today? We need to save 20% and gather so that we can be ready for the 7 years of famine. So what do I need to do today? So if you show me your everyday lifestyle, I will tell whether you are living for the future or whether you are living in the present without the consciousness of the future. What do I need to do today? God said to Noah, there's rain is coming, build an ark, and every day Noah will go to the forest, will fall trees and bring it and nail and measure and the rest. He's doing something today to get ready for his future. So what are you doing today? What responsibility, what challenges, what lifestyle changes do you need to make? And this is, I will talk about goal setting. Maybe next year, the beginning of the year, we'll talk about goal setting. The problem I see, and let me just put it here, that most times when we teach people goal setting, we only teach them goal setting from an outcome goals. Outcome goals means I need to make $1 million. I need the church to be 5,000 people. That's outcome goals. I can tell, I can measure it, outcome goals, but we don't teach them habit goals. Habit goals is, okay, so if I need to make $1 million, what must I do differently in order for me to make $1 million? We don't teach people habit goals. And there's a reason why at the end of the day, you can even call it in business balance, leading and lagging indicators. Leading and lagging indicators. So let me bring this to a close. I don't know, am I communicating? Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
A lagging indicator is something you have
Very
no
well.
control about. Thank you. A leading indicator is something that guarantees that you will get to that destination. You understand? The leading indicator. And for somebody, a leading indicator might be you need to wake up 1 hour early, you need to go do exercise. That's a leading indicator. Because if I do 30 minutes or 60 minutes of exercise every day, I can guarantee that I will lose 10 kg. Losing 10 kg is a lagging indicator. You understand? It's an outcome goal. Waking up and doing exercise 60 minutes every day or 30 minutes every day is a leading indicator. It's a habit goals. And it is leading indicators or habit goals that guarantee your outcome indicators or your outcome goals or your lagging indicator to become a reality. So let me just bring this to a close. What must you do today to guarantee that the future that you've seen would happen? So let me end with Jeff Bezos and just tie this up. This man was working in an investment bank. We all know him. And while he was working in an investment bank in 1999, somebody wrote in an article that he saw that the internet was projected to grow at over 2,000% over the next decade. Even the man that wrote that thing did not think about it. And when the man saw that, he had inspiration. He just projected into the future and said, if anything, if this thing is projected to grow by over 2,000% in the next 10 years, there must be an opportunity to make money. So first is the long-term view, 2,000% projection. Second is there must be an opportunity somewhere. And guess what? He resigned and said, hey, I need to do something in order to maximize the opportunity that the internet will hold over the next decade. And he thought about, so what do I need to do? That was how he started Amazon. Okay, let me sell books. Let me start from Amazon selling books. Today, Amazon has moved from selling books to selling anything that you want in the world, even going to rockets and going to space. But they started with somebody sitting on his desk, seeing an opportunity over 10 years, saying to himself, there must be an opportunity here to pursue it, and taking a decision. That decision for him was to resign and start up a business. I'm not asking you to resign, but I'm telling you that the principles of success are the same. You need to see something. You need to ask yourself, is this an opportunity or a challenge? And you need to do something in the present. What Jeff Bezos did in the present was to start Amazon, and the rest they say is history. So let me ask you, what's your own Amazon? What would be your own Amazon over the next 10 years? What opportunity, what business, what partnership, what alliances, what diversification strategies would you employ in order for you to maximize what your future holds? Father, we thank you for grace. We'll thank you for grace. We'll thank you for grace. Okay, I will thank you. I think for me, I want to thank you. We'll continue this next week. We'll continue this